Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Suki Kripa Bolo Kana Kora Ami Bora Duki Jaya Koro Sitapati Advaita Gosai Tava Kripa Bole Pa Caitanya Nitya Aha Swarup Sanatana Arupa Raguna Bhatta Juga Shri Jiva Prabhu Lokana Daya Koroshi Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangamage Narottamada Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Caitanya Cartamrita ki jai. Shri Shri Gauradesh ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Gaur Premanandi Hari. Ali Ere Dan Vasamiltan Arhangan. Have to practice. Chaitanya Charitamrita, today. There's no bookmark. Huh? What verse have you got?
2.6180.
What is it?
Celebration of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
No, I could. What's the numbers?
This is Madhya Leela 2.6180.
Just tell me slowly.
Madhya Leela
Yeah.
2.26180.
Madhya Leela 2, 6.
6. 180. 180 verse. 2.6 180.
2, 6.
Yeah, 2.6.
What's 2, 6? Madhya Leela chapter 2 or chapter 26?
Chapter 6, verse 180.
Chapter 6? He's saying 2, 6.
It's not correct here.
Not correct.
Yeah, this is not correct normally because the numbers are not like this. Now there is a chapter and so this is like Sri Bhavi. So normally
Number 2 means not there.
so chapter 6 180.
Huh?
Chapter 6 180.
Okay. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, this is Madhya Leela chapter 6, verse 180. This is Lord Caitanya speaking to Prakasananda Saraswati, right? Acharyara dosha nahi Ishvara agya haila ataeva kalpana kari nastik shastra kaila Acharya dosha nahi Ishvara agya haila Ateva kalpana kari nastika shastra kaila Acharya dosha nahi Ishvara agya kaila Ataeva kalpana kari nastika shastra kaila Acharya dosha nahi Ishvara agya haila Ataeva kalpana kari nastikara
Acharya dosha nahi Ishvara haila.
Acharya dosha nahi Ishvara agya haila
Ataeva kalpana kari nastika shastra kaila.
Ataeva kalpana kari nastik shastra kaila Acharya dosha nahi Ishvar agya haila Ataeva kalpana kari nastik shastra kaila Acharya dosha nahi Ladies, Acharya dosha nahi Ishvara agya haila. Ataeva kalpanakari nastik shastra haila. Acharya dosha nahi Ishvara agya haila. Ataeva kalpanakari nastik shastra kaila. Acharya dosha nahi Ishvara agya haila. Ataeva kalpanakari nastik shastra kaila. Acharyara of Sankaracharya. Dosha, fault. Nahi, there is not. Ishvara agya, the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Haila, there was. Ataeva, therefore. Kalpana, imagination. Kari, making. Gnostic, atheistic. Shastra, scriptures. Kaila, prepared. Translation. Actually, there's no fault on the part of Sankaracharya. He simply carried out the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He had to imagine some kind of interpretation. Therefore, he presented a kind of Vedic literature that is full of atheism. This is very interesting. There's no purport there. This is Lord Caitanya talking to Prakasananda and all his followers, right? All the Mayavadis who are supposedly followers of Shankaracharya. Next verse. Sagamai kalpitas tvam cha janan mad vimukan kuru mam cha gopaya yena shat shristir esho tarotara. Addressing Lord Shiva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, please make the general populace averse to me by imagining your own interpretation of the Vedas. Also cover me in such a way that people will take more interest in advancing material civilization just to propagate a population bereft of spiritual knowledge. This is a quotation from the Padma Purana, Uttarakhanda, 6231. Mayavadam asat shastram prachanam bodham uchate mayaiva vihitan devi kalo brahmana murtina. Lord Shiva informed Goddess Durga, the superintendent of the material world, in the age of Kali, I take the form of a Brahmana and explain the Vedas through false scriptures in an atheistic way similar to Buddhist philosophy. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Brahmana Murtina in this verse refers to the founder of Mayavada philosophy, Sankaracharya, who was born in the Malabar district of southern India. Mayavad philosophy states that the Supreme Lord, the living entities, and the cosmic manifestation are all transformations of the illusory energy. To support this atheistic theory, the Mayavadis make false scriptures. They cite false scriptures, which make people bereft of transcendental knowledge and addicted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. This verse is a quote from the Padma Purana Uttarakhanda 25:7. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksuramilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharani Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya De Satarani. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharani Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya De Satarani. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tushe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Jai. Jagannath Rath Yatra Ki Jai. Yesterday many devotees asked me, what did I think about the Rath Yatra? I thought it was great because there was kirtan all day, there was lots of prasadam distribution all day, and a lot of book distributors. So what more do you need? And Jagannath was giving his darshan to everybody. And many people, they might not notice Lord Jagannath when they see the cart. They get overwhelmed by the cart. And Prabhupada said that's not different anyway. But the kirtan was heard by many, many thousands of people. Last year, Satyanandan Swami asked what was the best part of it. And devotees started saying, under the bridge when the echo. But then he said, no, before the bridge, when everybody was up there filming, there was, a few hundred people. They must have heard the kirtan coming, so they were looking out to see what's going on. And as far as I could see, everyone had their camera. And that gets sent all over the world. So this is a special arrangement of the Kali Yuga. So Lord Caitanya is explaining, and of course devotees may think, Sankaracharya, because he was atheistic philosophy, but it was with a purpose, which is explained throughout this section. So Lord Chaitanya is saying he's not to blame because Krishna told him to preach like this, because Buddhism had more or less taken over India. The Hindu kings were just frustrated. There were a lot of fighting between different kings. That's how the conquerors were able to take over, because all these Hindu kings were fighting each other, so they would take sides with one and say, I'll help you defeat the other one. And they would do that, but then they would absorb both. So then King Ashoka, he got affected by Buddhist philosophy, which is peaceful. They're not fighting and conquering like that. And he was the emperor or something, so he was able to spread that all over India. And so Lord Chaitanya wanted to, Buddhism is called atheistic because they deny the Vedas, Gnostic. Because the Vedas were being so misrepresented by the Brahmanas, claiming that the Vedas, you have to have animal sacrifices. and then they were making a business of animal sacrifices. So Buddha's main purpose was to stop that. But because everything about the Vedas was so confused, he just said, forget the Vedas, just follow me. So he taught, Vedic lifestyles and everything, but without Krishna, without Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Sankaracharya is Lord Shiva, so he's highly qualified. So he made his interpretation of the Brahma Sutras. The Brahma Sutras, nobody can really understand them anyway unless they're Sanskrit scholars. But he made interpretations which just confused everybody. And there still was no, like personality of God, had no bhakti, no service. But he was using the Vedas to promote that. And therefore the Buddhists were chased out of India. And they went to Southeast Asia and Thailand, finally Japan. But the Sankaracharya's philosophy gradually infiltrated everywhere. So modern science is, Buddhism, everything came from nothing. You're ultimately nothing. Everything that's something is an imagination that just came out of nothing. This guy Hawkins, who was supposed to be the next Einstein or something, his final theory that he came up with, which was not accepted by any scientist, that there was nothing, and gravity, which must be something, I don't know, but gravity pulled something out from nothing and created multiverses, many, many universes. Actually, Vyasaki Prabhu wrote a book, Hawkins on Trial, and he defeated the whole thing like really heavy. And when he started researching, he got so much support from so many scientists. But see, people somehow go for that kind of madness. So that it's a little bit changed now, but at one point, many of the mainstream Christian churches, they had philosophy almost same as Buddhism or Shankaracharya, that God is some unknowable thing. You can't really know what it is. Like one devotee was, I don't know if the guy was there or not, his teacher was some Indian Hindu teacher, and he was saying Krishna means black, and black means unknown, so Krishna is unknown. And the Prabhupada said, then why are you teaching Bhagavad Gita then? If Krishna is unknown, but because the Bhagavad Gita doesn't say that. Krishna says you will know me, and you will come to me, and you will see me, and all these things. But so people are really crazy. So Sankaracharya was very successful, and Buddhism more or less left India. Still a little bit left, but the ideas are still there, and so many Indians are still Mayavadis, still think, God is unknown and unthinkable and unseeable, and basic thing, Mayavadis, they're pretty much all the same, I think. I haven't heard too many, but I heard one of the most popular ones. He said he was so-called teaching Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, but he said it's not Krishna speaking, right? It's the spirit, whatever that is. And he had a big audience. They were all, this was in Bali, but the audience was all, I think, Australians. And his students, they were paying $10,000 to get something. And he said, and you're all spirit. And then everybody was like really happy. You know. In other words, it's not Krishna. Krishna is just like an illusory hologram or something created by some unknown, unseeable thing. Very insane. Very much opposite of any basic, scriptures that the world knows. Everybody knows that, there's a person behind everything. Because there's intelligence. Now many people, even though they're not religious, they understand there's some kind of intelligence. Intelligence means a person. It's gone so far, Sadhaputta Prabhu wrote, some major scientists were saying when they finally get to find out the origin of everything, it'll be a big computer. AI, was predicted. But where'd the computer come from, Of course, where did Krishna come from? He doesn't. He has no beginning and end, and we don't have either. The souls don't have a beginning or an end either. Anyway, so Lord Chaitanya is defending Shankaracharya. He's not to be blamed. He's not bad. And he's given credit for writing the Jagannath Astakam, which is about Krishna, right? And playing his flute, with the gopis and everything. But his followers didn't remember when he said Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Mudamate. That was like one of his final statements. They stuck to the Mayavadi thing. Because ultimately then we're all God. I'm God, you're God. Mayavadi teachers say like that. You're God, but you don't realize it, but you come to me, I'll teach you. But what kind of God is it? I was just listening to this morning to one devotee, Srinathji Prabhu. He was very prominent in Bombay. He started the Chopati temple, actually. And his help in the Juhu temple in the early days. He was a very rich, big businessman. And he had become degraded studying in America as far as regulated principles. But somehow his mother, was a devotee, and she had the devotees to the house, and he was thinking, what is she bringing these crazy people here and they're dancing all over? And he was a disciple of his Chinmayananda, the main Mayavadi of the time. And but he saw that Prabhupada was so powerful, and he just entrapped his parents. So he was admiring the intelligence. Prabhupada right away, his father was a parliamentarian, and Prabhupada told him right away, we're having a lot of trouble, that my men are being investigated by the the CBI, and they're saying that they're CIA agents, and I want you to, convince the government to stop this. He said, well, I'll see what I can do about it. And then he said, this boy here, it was Jaipataka Maharaj, he said, the way he tells it, he said he was an associate of Lord Chaitanya, and I want you to make him an Indian citizen. And he couldn't believe that any American would want to be an Indian citizen. No such thing ever happened before. And Indians all want to go to America. Prabhupada said, no, he's going to preach all over India, and he's going to, learn the languages and everything. So he made the effort. It took 10 years for Jaipataka Maharaj to get his citizenship. He couldn't leave India, had to learn Bengali. But this man arranged it. And Srinathji said, why are you giving him money? Why are you supporting him? He said, he's doing great work. He's giving the Vedic culture. No one ever did that before. So the Srinathji would argue with Prabhupada from the Mayavadi. And then Prabhupada would defeat all the arguments, and he would go back to this guru and then get more arguments and come back, argue with Prabhupada. Finally Prabhupada told him, ask him why, if he's Narayan, why is he getting old? Why doesn't he stay young all the time like Narayan? So the guy said, well, I have to look old, because people will respect me more. Something like a lot of devotees now, why do you have a beard? Well, people will respect me more if I have a beard. I look more mature, But anyway, he went back and said that, and Prabhupada, I don't know what, I heard one time Prabhupada finally said, Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill on one finger, can you lift that table? And then he couldn't answer that one. But that's Prabhupada. So finally, after 7 years, this N.D. Desai finally accepted Prabhupada fully. He'd even had a sign on his house, because the devotees were going office to office all the time for life members. So he had a sign on it outside his office, no Hare Krishnas. And Giriraj Swami waited until he came out in the afternoon. And then because he was just sitting there, he talked to him, and he somehow, Giriraj convinced him that he should go to his house to have a bath or something. And so they became friends. So then he became a very primary devotee in India. But Prabhupada, very friendly way, just defeated him. And with the father was not like that, and the mother, so he just engaged him immediately, according to his, position in society. So far, still, we haven't gotten visas for everybody. It was Prabhupada's first request with any government person he ever met. Still hasn't happened. Sometimes it gets more difficult to get, permanent visas. But tourist visas are easy, but that's the way it goes. So Sankaracharya, he preached very widely and very expertly, but it was on the order of Krishna, so we don't condemn him, but we don't want to follow his teachings. So I'll read a couple more verses. I've been reading different things lately, and I saw how important it is, because some things Prabhupada says are very strong and sound really controversial, and sometimes devotees stop there and, oh, I don't like this, or I can't understand this. But if you keep reading, and not very many more verses, you'll always get the answer. I even had questions like, they tell me the verse number, and I don't understand, the verse says this and that. So I look it up, and the first sentence of the purport completely answers their question. But they never read the purport, they got stuck. So Prabhupada is giving us everything, and we have to keep reading again and again. So then Lord Chaitanya's Suni Bhattacharya Haile Parama Vismita Mukena Nisarevani Haila Stambita. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became, this is about Sarvabhauma, excuse me. Sarvabhauma became very much astonished upon hearing this. He became stunned and said nothing. I'm sorry, I thought it was Prakasananda, because he preached the same way. So Sarvabhauma had talked to Lord Chaitanya for 7 days, and Lord Chaitanya never responded, he never asked a question, he never agreed, he never disagreed, he just sat there and listened. And finally he said, you don't understand? And he said, no. He said, the Vedanta is very clear like sunshine, but your explanations are like clouds, like today we have clouds, right? So you're covering up the real meaning. So he said, what do you mean? How can that be? So now he's really confused. Prabhu kahe bhattacharya na kare vismaya bhagavane bhakti parama purusartha haya. If there's any Bengalis here, forgive me. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then told him, do not be astonished. Actually, devotional service under the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest perfection of human society. So, of course, in the Shankaracharya, there's no Supreme Personality of Godhead, so there's no service. And Lord Chaitanya wanted this preached to turn people against, Krishna asked for it, because he wanted to help the Kali Yuga along. So when there's no pleasure, there's no personal exchanges of love, there's no service in religion, then where do you go? You go for sense gratification. You go for a relationship with this or that, with a dog or a cat or another human or whatever. He wanted the Kali Yuga. Then he says, Atma Rama Paryanta Kare Ishvara Bhajana Aicheya Chincha Bhagavanera Guna Gana. Even the self-satisfied sages perform devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Such are the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and they are full of inconceivable spiritual potency. Very important word, achintya, inconceivable, because devotees, at least the Chinese especially, how can I understand this? How can I understand Krishna? You can't. It's inconceivable. If we understand that it's inconceivable, that means it's beyond our mind, it's beyond our, thought processes and everything. Then that means we understand. Although the mundane scientists say, well, you don't understand it, you're just a cop-out. But inconceivable means it's beyond us, but it's there. Krishna says nobody knows him, but he knows everybody. These are all without purports. Atmarama chamunaya nirgranta apyarukrama kurvant yahoituki bhaktim itam bhuta guno hari. The famous verse, the Atmarama verse. Those who are self-satisfied and unattracted by external material desires are also attracted to the loving service of Sri Krishna, whose qualities are transcendental and whose activities are wonderful. Hari, the personality of Godhead, is called Krishna because he has such transcendentally attractive features. So that's another meaning. Krishna doesn't only mean dark or black, it also means the greatest pleasure, and they're all attractive. Still no purport. Shuni Bhattacharya Kahi Puna Maharshaya E Slokara Arta Shunite Vancha Haya. After hearing the Atmarama verse, Sarvabhaumacharya addressed Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my dear sir, please explain this verse. I have a great desire to hear your explanation. So that's a very wonderful part of the Bhagavatam, of Lord Chaitanya's Leela. Lord Chaitanya said, well, I really can't think of anything. You explain it first, and then I'll see if I can think of something. So Sarvabhauma explained it in 9 different angles of vision, which no one else in the world could do. He was so intelligent. So Lord Chaitanya, then he explained it in, I think, 16 different ways. So at that point, Sarvabhauma he's only God could speak like this. He must be God. If you know the Leela, his brother-in-law was Gopinath Acharya, who was a Gaudiya Vaishnava from Mayapur. And he kept telling Sarvabhauma, Lord Chaitanya was at Sarvabhauma's house after he fainted in the temple. He kept saying he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the incarnation. And he was saying there's Tri Yuga, there's no incarnation in Kali Yuga. And all his followers were also saying that. But after he heard this explanation, he was convinced, and then we know Sarvabhauma became, the great Vaishnava, and all his scholarship and all his learning was suddenly glorifying bhakti, which bewildered everyone in Jagannath Puri, because he was the world's most famous Mayavadi teacher. But Lord Chaitanya, he very brilliantly, first he approached him unconscious, helpless. So Sarvabhauma took compassion and took him home and helped him, get back to real consciousness. And then he humbly listened to him for 7 days until Sarvabhauma said, you say something now. And Sarvabhauma was obliged to listen because Lord Chaitanya had listened to him. And in most preachers, we recognize that. I remember the first time I went to India, and I was going out with Giriraj Swami. And, book distributor, we were, don't listen to anybody, just click, And we went to one house, and the guy just rattled on Mayavadi talk, and my mind was going completely crazy. We can't listen to this. We can't hear this. What are you? And then the guy finally was satisfied, and Giriraj said, well, my Guru Maharaj says, preached to him, and the guy was, okay. And gradually I learned a little bit. But so anyway, then much later, when Lord Chaitanya was teaching Sanatana Goswami, I did a class on this once, so I studied it. And Lord Chaitanya, after he finished teaching Sanatana Goswami for 2 months, Sanatan said, I heard how you explained the Atmarama verse to Sarvabhauma, and I'd like to hear what you explained it. And Lord Chaitanya said, well, I don't remember. We were two crazy guys and we were just talking, and I don't remember. But he said, maybe, because of your association, I can think of something. So he explained it 61 different ways. But the conclusion of all those was bhakti. And he started out by giving the dictionary definition of each word. So, in any language, in German also probably, one word can have many meanings. And sometimes they're opposite, depending on how you're using it. So some words had 7 meanings, and then he combined each meaning with all the other words, and it somehow came out to 61. And chief disciple of Prakasananda, who was equal in scholarship, heard it. He overheard this explanation. So he just flipped out, and he went and told everybody how Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he just explained the Atmarama verse in 61 different ways. And the whole town, who had been rejecting him and calling him a babuka for dancing and singing with the crazy Vaishnavas, they all wanted to hear it again. But it doesn't say in Chaitanya Cartamrita whether he explained it again or not, but that particular leader of Prakasananda's group, he became a completely sold out follower of Lord Chaitanya. Prakasananda never did. And, well, actually, when Lord Chaitanya took the Varaha form at Murari Gupta's house, and he said, there's one rascal in Benares, and, he says I don't have any arms or legs or hands or eyes or ears, and, so he has leprosy. And that's what happened to Prakasananda, because he wouldn't give up the Mayavadi ideas that God is not a person, and therefore he can't talk and he can't see and he can't hear. It's quite an insult, to call someone deaf, dumb, and blind and lame. But that's what they say. All right? So we want to hear from Lord Chaitanya more and more and more. He's making it easy. Generally, he didn't preach this kind of things to the common people, only to big scholars like Sanatana Goswami and Sarvabhauma, Prakasananda. He just said, chant Hare Krishna, But after this, when they heard about this explanation, then everybody in Benares, he was going to leave. He said, I'm carrying this heavy load of knowledge and bhakti, and they don't want it, so I'll have to go back, take my goods and leave. But then he arranged that Brahmin invited him for lunch, and he invited all the other sannyasis, and so they all came, and they asked him, why are you dancing, and why aren't you studying Vedanta? Because their idea is you just sit down and you just study all day. There's no singing and dancing. That's for sentimental, crazy people, for sense gratifiers. But they don't know the spiritual world. They don't know the conclusion. They just, Gyanis, they just think that they know everything, but then they really know nothing because they don't know Krishna. They may know so many scriptures, and they create their own scriptures, or they have, we have people like that in and around ISKCON also, twisting everything around, saying Prabhupada didn't mean what he said. Like the Mayavadis say, Krishna said that, but he didn't mean it, right? He didn't mean, when he said give it to me, he didn't mean that. He meant give it to the spirit somewhere, something else. So that's a kind of an insult to Krishna, that he doesn't know grammar, he doesn't know word, When he says, many slokas in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says aham or me or my, like 5 or 6 times, right? So it's not that he doesn't know what aham means, and they have to explain that he didn't mean that, he meant something else. That's their idea. And if you defeat them, they say, well, I didn't mean what you defeated. I said it, but I didn't mean it. And so you defeated, and I really meant something else. And then you defeat that, and it goes on, and they never give up. But genuine, like not Prakasananda, the other one, and Sarvabhauma, they accept when they're defeated. That's like a Vedic culture. If someone defeats you in a debate, then you become their disciple. Some cultures have that, like if someone defeats you in a fight, then you become their servant, and you help protect them the rest of their life. But nowadays, they're more like, who was it, Rukmi? Balaram didn't really win, even though the voice came from the heavenly planets that Balaram won. No, he didn't really win. I won. So I don't know what he was thinking, because everyone saw that Balaram won. But he's saying, no, he must have cheated or something. So he got killed by Balaram. Balaram is also quite a character, because previously, when Krishna had insulted Rukmi, Balaram chastised Krishna. Said, you shouldn't do that, it's your brother-in-law, and you shouldn't insult your relative. He was doing that because Rukmini, who was just married, and then her new husband was, humiliating her brother. And the brother was not her friend anyway, but so Balaram did that to show his position as the older brother and kind of pacify Rukmini. Krishna didn't pay any attention to it, he just went off. But then it was at a wedding, a Kshatriya wedding. Some people think we should have Kshatriya culture. Urmila Mataji said, so we're going to have a big battle at every wedding or something, and kill a few people. And it was a strange marriage anyway. The two enemy sides, the grandchildren or something, were getting married. And Balaram just took his club and bashed his head in right away. And the other friend of his who was gone, he smashed out his teeth and he started smashing everybody in Rukmini's army, and they all had to run away. So Balaram had both sides. He was very easily, he would get angry and fight, but like he did with Dravida, but he was very kind. Lord Nityananda skipped that. He only exhibited the unlimited mercy because it's Kali Yuga. So it's definitely Kali Yuga, and all the Kali Yuga things are going on. Every few weeks we hear about a new war somewhere. I just came from Israel. I guess I got out just in time. I wasn't thinking like that, but I wanted to come for the Rath Yatra. But now there's no flights and no anything. Everything's closed. Because Iran declared, well, I don't know who, Israel attacked, but the Iranian-backed people have been attacking Israel for years and years unrelentlessly. And so Iran declared war on Israel, and there's bombs going around back and forth. So and the Ukraine war is still going on, and there's many other small wars here and there, and so much conflict and so much exploitation and corruption. This is all Kali Yuga. At the same time, there's more and more Rath Yatras. This is Lord Chaitanya's movement. There's more and more Harinam parties everywhere. I came to, well, they said Hanover, but the devotees are living in, I can't pronounce the name, another town that's like an hour away from Hanover, but there's a big gang of Ukrainian refugees, 150 of them, and the government has been very kindly supporting them while they learn Deutsch, sprechen Sie Deutsch, and giving them jobs. And they have a hotel, and they built a beautiful temple room, about much bigger than this temple room, in the hotel. They have the hotel kitchen. It's for them. And some devotees live in the hotel. A devotee owns the hotel. And then there's another party, a special Harinam party. He was leading a kirtan, the first kirtan yesterday. That's all they do. They just travel and do kirtan. So we had Harinam every day in a different town, except one day they had a big so-called Nam Hatha program with 150 devotees. The Harinam was usually only 30 or 40, but it's pretty spectacular. And and now we're going to have Harinam here every day for a few days, and Berlin also already having Harinam every day before Rath Yatra. So that's increasing all over the world, book distribution. People are buying sets of Bhagavatam on the streets, right? I mean, inconceivable in America, paying something like $350, right on inside the department store sometimes. Devotee goes in with a cart with the books and somehow sells them right in the store. It's beyond my it's inconceivable. But and one devotee who was doing the most, they were criticizing, well, you're only selling them to Indians. So he started, now they sell about twice as many to, they call Westerners, I say non-Indians. But, and so people, somehow they know something about Krishna, even unconsciously, the holy name has been spread so much. There's so much on the internet. I don't know anymore, but I was at the ISKCON Desire Tree offices in 2019, and they had just got an award from YouTube that they had 100,000 followers. But actually at that time they had 250,000. And they weren't downloading, people were downloading 500,000 minutes of video every day. And they said, anybody ever use YouTube? Anybody not use YouTube? Yeah. So, you go on and you want to hear Agni Dev or something, but people are going to get Sadhguru or this one or that one, Sai Baba or somebody. But on the side it says, you might like these things. So there's some Hare Krishna Kirtan or something. So half of their followers come from that. The people were actually looking for some Mayavadi thing, but they clicked on the Hare Krishna and liked it, so they subscribed. So take advantage, the Juhu Temple many years ago, they were number 5 in likes or something on Facebook. And the Mataji, she's now the GBC communications director, but she was in charge of their Facebook page. But she said every devotee should have their own page. Everybody should be preaching, because somebody catches it. And some devotees have actually millions of followers. And a lot of Matajis especially, they have the biggest numbers, especially if they're Indian language. But there's no restriction, it doesn't cost anything. Everybody has internet already. You don't have to have, all the special microphones and cameras and lighting and everything. You can do it anyway, but just do it. And get out, get out on Harinam, get out on Rath Yatra. It's wonderful now. There's so many Rath Yatras there. Yesterday was also New York Rath Yatra. New York, devotees come from all over the world. And history, New York City had made a long time before a law that there would be no more parade permits issued for Fifth Avenue because they had too many parades already, and it's a big job for the police to monitor these parades. So Prabhupada said, try anyway, like he always did. So Toshan Krishna Prabhu went, and he talked to the guy, and the guy said, I don't know why I'm doing this, but okay, you can. So Prabhupada asked him, what did you say to him? He said, I told him we have 3 hand-pulled carts. Like a little kids, now everybody has those wagons. Even the book distributors have them, So they thought, yeah, no big deal, But it's still going on. Fifth Avenue, the major street of the world for some reason. And then Washington Square Park, the whole park they take over. And that's a really busy place. Much busier than where we were, because it's surrounded by the University of Manhattan and so many things, so there's just so many people going through it. devotees do Harinam there a lot, but people are very receptive, but almost half of the tables are selling cannabis nowadays. They're selling cannabis plants and teach you how to take care of it, and cookies and brownies and drinks and everything you can think of. But anyway, the people are in a good mood, and the Harinam is very successful there. A lot of books go out. So that Rath Yatra has been going on all these years. And so there's so many devotees there. And the police, Fifth Avenue is very busy, and there's cross streets very often. So the police are really concerned about keeping the clear, and keeping one lane open. But last couple of years, there were so many devotees, and they just couldn't keep them and the police just gave up. They just let them take the whole thing, Because they like the Rath Yatra, just like here, They like it. They volunteer again and again every year, the same policemen, because, nothing ever goes wrong, and they get to care. Devotees are all so nice to them. Otherwise, policemen, not very many people are nice to you. Most people, they don't like to see the police. They're all criminals, and the police get prasadam, and they hear the kirtan. And so, anyway, Rath Yatras especially, and it attracts everybody. I've always, Rath Yatra, basically, it's just a big Harinam. But if we advertise we're having a big Maha Harinam, how many people come? But if we say Rath Yatra, thousands of devotees come. Devotees nobody's ever seen all year or ever seen in their life. They're all at Rath Yatra. So we want to have more and more Rath Yatras, and more. It's like a temple. I was in the Rath Yatra in LA. It's in Venice Beach, which was a really degraded place. Now it's become a major tourist place. And they had a lot of problems there. Every year, somebody was protesting, Christians or the environmentalists or something, that they shouldn't allow the Rath Yatra there. They trample the grass, or, whatever, the Christians, of course. And the chief of police said they should come every week. He said, it's the only day my men get a break, because everybody's peaceful that day. Otherwise, there used to be a lot of murders there. I went there when I was a hippie at night, and I freaked out. I just got in my car and drove to San Francisco. I said, I'll never go there again. Environment was so crazy. Now it's really nice. And of course, every other shop is cannabis. But it's a main tourist place, I think more than Hollywood now. So it's also a great place for Rath Yatra and Harinam. And the Rath Yatra festival is people coming from all over. So this is, Prabhupada's special arrangement. We're personalists. Lord Jagannath is a person. Lord Jagannath likes to go out and let everybody see him. He likes to see everybody. He likes to see all the people getting the mercy and hearing the holy name. I think especially likes to see all these cameras. Because you never know, like some of the people that take movies of Harinam are big influencers. And they have like thousands of followers, 100,000, and they put it up. So immediately, like thousands of people are there. So we encourage everybody to, dress nicely, smile, look happy, make sure you have tilak, so that, we get a good impression. All right, so that's enough. So Lord Chaitanya, he defeated the Mayavadis in so many ways. And he told everybody, right away surrender to Krishna. Krishna didn't tell till the end, but he just said right away, chant Hare Krishna. That's surrender. So please bless us and bless me. Everybody asked me for blessings. And one of my disciples, who's a senior leader, he said, I need blessings too. We have problems also, And I see she's not here, but Rimati Mataji she came in during the Guru Puja. If you don't know her, she's one of the very early devotees in Deutschland, and she's been in Mayapur forever. She's the elephant girl. She actually personally went to Assam and brought the elephants to Mayapur and took care of them for all these years. Now they're not there, so she might bless Germany and stay here half the year or something. Her brother bought her a house and said, you can do whatever you want. So she might start a temple. And this is her son, who's a cowherd boy in Mayapur. Bye. So we're very blessed. And thank you very much. I hope many stay because I heard there's Harinam every day next week. Right? Some special party from somewhere. So we have a lot of special Harinam parties nowadays that just travel and do Harinam everywhere. The Harinam Ruchi was in New York, and somebody told me a few years ago Mahavishnu Swami was here for Rath Yatra. And I think we should start this. When they were coming up to that underpass, and he stopped. And he told everybody chant, can you say Hare Krishna? And I'm sure many people did, so it's a very good idea to do that. Because I traveled with them a little bit, and one lady in New York, near the temple, I went up and said, can you say Hare Krishna? And she grabbed the microphone, started belting out a whole kirtan and wouldn't stop. Because they've seen devotees enough, but not enough. And so many people still don't know what is this. So we should be prepared to tell them. We were in Israel. In Israel, people, they're going by in their car and they hang out the window like this, when they see Harinam. And the more and more because of all the tension. So we were in another big tourist place. And our party is all Russian or Ukrainian, heritage. But one Israeli girl joined. And so she told me afterward, she said the Israeli people were coming to her because I looked different, and asking her what's this all about. And she said they were crying and saying, thank you so much, you're bringing happiness. So, it's everywhere in the world like that, more and more. And so Germany was one of the first country to translate all the books into their language and so many things. So it's a great honor to be here. And we'll have a nice seminar today. And then kirtan all day, which is a great opportunity. Yesterday was kirtan all day. And such sweet kirtans on the stage the whole time. The dramas also were very good. And it's especially nice when the children do dramas. They have to, whoever the director is, have to get a lot of credit. The children are natural actors, but they're not always able to be directed. But when they're directed, their dramas are very powerful. The Yamaraj. And the dancing was very good. And the Kali Yuga drama was also very good. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Maharaj, a question.
Yeah,
So you said Shankaracharya is not at fault,
yeah.
but those who,
I didn't say, Lord Chaitanya said.
but those who hear the philosophy, even the Mahabharata can fall down.
Yeah,
So why is he so powerful?
he's Lord Shiva. And Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna empowered him. He wanted it. And then Lord Chaitanya came to straighten everything out, because people had come again to respect the Vedas, but they were all misinterpreted. And then he gave the real interpretation. And now it's up to us to keep that going.
All the New Age is infiltrated.
Huh?
All the New Age has that Mahabharata.
Yeah. Jayadvaita Maharaj said that birth, death, disease, old age and new age. Yeah, the scientists are. Their thing is everything. Even Darwin ultimately goes back to everything came from nothing. It's not just that men came from monkeys. Everything gradually came up, but originally from nothing. That's why Prabhupada was so much against it. It's ridiculous, but how can they believe even that things happen by chance? The sun rises by chance.
Most unscientific answer.
One guy was telling me like that one time, and it's all by just chance, the whole universe. And I said, can you say that your watch, was just by chance? That there was a big car wreck and an Autobahn and, Rolex watches just afterward were all over the street. Oh, that's different. I said, what about the universe? He said, how can that be a chance? It's so precise. Oh, that's different. The big atheist in Cambridge University, they had a bookshelf. I don't know, you know this Richard Dawkins? He's stupid, but he's the most popular atheist. And it said, read the divine Dawkins. But he says there's no God. The divine Dawkins. And I met one of his students. Have you read all his books? Yeah. And he doesn't know anything about any religion or any science except genetics, and still he talks like a big authority. So we have to help people, and people naturally want religion, they want God, they want shelter, and they're being cheated by the preachers. Even one German, I forget the name, a very famous philosopher, he went to America, it was some time back, and he said, churches in America they're finished. There's no life. They're preaching all wrong, He said the only reason there's still churches is because of the black church. The Africans, they're singing and dancing. They're praising God, They're not saying, I'll make you rich. Now they do, though, most of their people. I ain't going to heaven a poor man. I'm going with money in my pocket. And the people are like, yeah. And Jesus said, a rich man can't go to heaven. In other words, you have to give it up. You can't take it with you. But they're talking like that. We'll make you prosperous here and rich. And the Hindu monks also, Buddhist monks. So we have to give them the purification process, holy name and prasadam. How many prasadam plates yesterday? Huh? Somebody have it? Huh? 2,000. Pretty good. And a few people were selling prasadam in the booths. They sold out, I saw. There was only a few pieces left. So that's auspicious. Keep it up. All right? So Prabhupada talked a lot about the Sankaracharya. In the West, nobody ever heard of Sankaracharya. The Indians, they honor so much, But devotees didn't know what Mayavadi was. Prabhupada kept smashing Mayavadi. And then he said, I will show you. Because he didn't have his Bhagavad Gita, so he was using this Radha Krishna's Bhagavad Gita, only the slokas. Actually, even some of the slokas in the Bhagavad Gita as it is, it just transposed. And I'll show you. And he read one of the verses where, Krishna says, offer to me. And he said, you don't offer to me. And one of the devotees said, because they'd all been studying Buddhist things, said, what's wrong with that? They said, Prabhupada, he turned red, he said, and he just smashed the desk, like almost broke the desk, screaming, this is Mayavadi. And then devotees understood what it was. We have to be careful because it creeps in. Like at one point, some devotees were saying Prabhupada was Krishna, And there's also another, we won't mention their names, but they're claiming something, but it's really Mayavadi. And people go for it because there's no obligation, All right?
Many devotees don't believe anymore that they believe that they went to the moon.
Yeah.
And then so much speculation. The negative, Prabhupada said.
We don't know. Prabhupada said, you can find different things, but mostly he said, so, there's different moons. They went somewhere, maybe. It's not something really, at the time, it was a big thing in America. The space race, and the missile gap, all these things. Bob Dylan said, I heard the streets of heaven are lined with gold. How could things get much worse if the Russians got there first? But they were actually saying that there might be gold mines and diamond mines on the moon, and if the Russians get there first, then we won't have a chance. And they might put missiles on the moon. Really stupid, but that got the whole of America. We got to go there first and pay your taxes, and they got all the scientists in America in one place. And so we don't know. Something happened, and they're still promoting it like anything. It comes on the internet all the time. But they didn't go to the moon that's described in the Bhagavatam. It's a heavenly planet. They went somewhere. So it's not worth arguing. It's like the origin of the soul. It's not worth arguing about. All right? Yeah.
I want to ask, why did Caitanya start the Sankaracharya to preach impersonalism? Why did he not ask him to straight away preach Krishna consciousness?
Huh?
Why did Sankaracharya not preach straight away Krishna consciousness instead of impersonalism? Why he got the instruction?
Sankaracharya was way before Lord Chaitanya, but he did preach it, his final order. But his order from Krishna was to spread this atheistic philosophy in the name of the Vedas, which was, the purpose was to defeat Buddhism, drive Buddhism out.
But why not straight away personalism?
Huh?
Why not straight away personalism? Why not straight away Krishna consciousness? Why not personalism? Why did he first preach impersonalism? Why not straight away personalism?
He had to get people back to the Vedas, and they were bewildered too much by that Buddhist philosophy. So he preached Buddhist philosophy, but from the Vedas. He said, have faith in the Vedas, and he twisted the meaning of the Vedas, and in that way he got people away from Buddhism so they could be ready for the next step.
Does it mean that the people now are more ready?
And more, yeah,
Than thousands years ago?
yeah, because most people, they don't have any Shastric conviction about anything. So if they can hear, and because of the Sankirtan movement, which, is Lord Chaitanya's timing, that's what Krishna arranged. And he's for the most fallen. So we shouldn't be proud that we're devotees. We should think, okay, I must be the most fallen because we're saved. But why did Krishna do it? Like someone asked Prabhupada, some professor, why did Krishna wear a peacock feather? You know what Prabhupada said? He wanted to know the symbolism, and Prabhupada said he likes it. But what does it mean? What is this? He likes it. Simple. Why is Krishna blue? He pointed the deity, said, ask him. So, but it's the timing of Kali Yuga, and Kali Yuga has to come. But this is a very special Kali Yuga where Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. There's always some kind of Lord Chaitanya, but this one is very special, just like 5,000 years ago Krishna came personally. So Lord Chaitanya came personally, not an avatar, avatari. And when a woman asked Prabhupada, why didn't you come earlier in America? He said, you weren't ready. Krishna set up everything. America was full of rebellion. Young people were totally frustrated. People were fed up with the Vietnam and everything. So it was a perfect time. And young people were looking for spiritual solutions, but everything, the Christianity was vapid, nothing there. And the Buddhism and everything was totally unsatisfying. It was interesting for the mind, but nothing for the heart. So when Prabhupada said that they knew what was wrong, which is good, but they didn't know what was right. So when I told them what was right, they went for it. And it's more and more people are going for it, and we should take part. They told me when I first went to the temple, you better join now because the temples are going to be so full, there'll be no room for anybody. And if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it, you're going to miss the boat. And everybody was totally, convinced. Missionary movement. We don't want to we don't want to just be a bona fide religion and just, the thing in Prabhupada's time, we're going to change the world. Then a lot of devotees started thinking, well, we can't be too weird, we have to blend in, but we have to be careful we don't become the same as them. Bridge preaching. Today they have bridge preaching in New York, big Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah, it's ecstatic. It's completely mobbed with people from all over the world. And it's quite a long ways across. So it's a great Harinam. Mahavishnu Swami's there. That's the best bridge preaching. Okay? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai, Vijay Gauranga and Dayal Nitai. Very good name. Okay?
Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Danke schön. Ich spreche nichts.
very clear.
No.
Yeah, that's the